Hello everyone, Travis here, and welcome back to the channel. We are back in the world of Open Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 today for another Mega Park episode. We actually will be getting 2 Mega Park episodes this week just because of how things lined up in the schedule. But that's good because we have a lot to do if we want to finish this park by the end of the year or early next year, which is what I'm kind of suspecting will likely happen. As I'm looking around, there's quite a bit of detailing and things that need to still get done. But anyway, in today's episode, we're going to work back here on this resort area. We'll go look over there, and I'll timestamp right now where the actual time lapse starts as usual. But yeah, so in the meantime, let's go check this out. Okay. So I did a little bit of off-camera stuff. I started kind of setting up for a pool here, so that's going to be something we work on today. Hopefully we can get that to look semi-decent. I'm not sure if I'm going to make this guest accessible. Maybe I will. I don't know, because we do have a pool over here that they can swim in. And so, this is mostly just to give the resort kind of like a all-inclusive sort of look. All of this was here last time, but I did add this. This is going to be a pool bar. So hopefully we'll get to working on that today. That's a parking shack like we did in the front. Same with this. And then I added this building back here, which is just going to be like a third sort of building. Well, I guess fourth now, because it's going to be the main building, and then there'll be these two side buildings over here, and then this building here. And yeah, the park is very much taking shape, as you can see. But without further delay, let's go ahead and move on into the time lapse. All right, we are back and we are time lapsing this resort area. I'm first going to start with these two buildings. I had originally intended on having like an actual outdoor restaurant area on the side of one of these buildings, but I changed that because one, we already have lots of food and drink stalls throughout the park, and two, because I decided to add that other building and kind of set up the resort area as a larger kind of complex. It felt like that would have been too much to do, I guess, for me. And I'm also, since I added the pool area and whatever, I thought it would be good to focus on putting the detailing and stuff there. You'll notice at the end of the episode that the pool area is not all that detailed. Like, I don't have any like tables or anything set up there. They're not actually in this workbench, so I need to go in and find some of those to add, and I might do that stuff off camera just because this is already a longer episode. But I think this is the most I've done in one episode in a really long time, even though we don't really work on any rides necessarily. But I do add 4 full buildings, and I think pretty much all of those buildings are in their finished state, which a lot of the buildings I've been doing recently I need to go back and add some detailing to. But the good thing about this is that these buildings don't require a whole lot of detail because they're meant to be really generic, just basic hotel looking buildings. And so that's kind of a disclaimer I want to give you all, is that you might think these buildings are ugly, and I might have to say I agree with you because they kind of are, but that's kind of the point. I wanted them to match this big main building that I built, I don't know, like in episode 6 or 7 or whenever it was. And obviously that was very early on in this project, and I did at the time say that it was intentionally generic. Like, I didn't want it to be like a themed hotel or anything. And at the time, that was mainly because there weren't any themed areas in this park. It was just a generic park at the time, and I decided later that I needed to section it off into kind of themed areas because otherwise I was never going to finish it. When you are building a large themeless park, it can be pretty daunting to try to vary the architectural styles throughout, and so there's only so much generic you can do before you run out of ideas. So that's why now we have several themed areas, and I like that concept a lot better. It makes the map look a lot more diverse and just overall, polished and unique in some ways as well. And so, yeah, I think I did a pretty good job of matching these to the style of the main building while still adding like certain details and stuff that fit with my more kind of modern style or my more like recent build style. This building here, the one that I added off camera, or I guess the footprint for it, I I decided that this one would have access through the exterior. So in my mind, these would be like the single rooms or like the, double queen bed type rooms. And then those other ones over there, the two that I added, I guess a while ago or whatever, they're more like family suites in my opinion. And to stay in the main building, those are like the preferred rooms, the deluxe rooms. But then in each of these buildings, you'll notice that they're not like all created equally as far as like the size and shape of the rooms and stuff. So in my mind, there are a couple of like special rooms over here, maybe even like some rooms that have like theming or whatever. And you may also notice that this one doesn't have an exterior staircase. So in my mind, you go through one of the end doors and there's a staircase inside that leads up to the next two levels. And then you'd exit back out onto that exterior walkway. This one's a 3-story building. The main building is 4 stories, and then the other buildings over there are 2 stories. And it's interesting because they all are different heights and whatever, but it kind of, because this one's a little bit taller over here, and then those other ones are 2 next to each other, it kind of balances the weight visually. And then of course the big one looks like more grand and special in comparison. And so I do like the way that turned out. Again, this isn't like my favorite style or anything. Like I'm, this is nothing to write home about, but that's really kind of on purpose, So let me know in the comments below what you think of that. Like, do these buildings remind you of like a basic, like almost like a motel style room? In my mind, I feel like this would be like a hotel that was maybe not part of the park originally and they bought it out, and so it doesn't like fit the aesthetic of the rest of the park maybe completely, or whatever. Maybe it was a much smaller park and so it didn't have a resort complex initially, and then they, at some point in the 80s decided that they were going to add it, and they kind of cheaped out on some of the finishes and whatever. Like, this isn't a Disney level resort, obviously. Although it does kind of bear a little bit of a resemblance to some of the budget hotels at Walt Disney World, except obviously those are much like more specifically themed. But I think architecturally you can kind of see some of those same kind of hotel or basic hotel elements and what have you. But yeah, so that's gonna be the meat and potatoes of this episode, is just building these buildings. That's always so weird to say, building buildings. Constructing buildings would probably make more sense. The other thing I noticed is with this building in particular, it's a lot closer to the edge of the map than I want it to be, so I'm probably going to push this area back a little bit more so that we can have some foliage and stuff around it. Once I got it built, and especially with the pathing and stuff around it, it's very much sitting on the edge of the map, which I don't like to do unless it's absolutely unavoidable, which it is in a couple places in this park because it's on the edge of the map that doesn't expand, which unfortunately we can't change, and I wish we could, although potentially with the new save format, when the OpenRCT2 developers get to a point where they can release that fully, maybe we'll be able to do those kinds of things, but for now we can't, unfortunately. Yeah, so just putting in the roof here, this is where I, decided that I was going to need to add some extra detailing. I had originally planned to just keep it plain. You'll notice that the main building, the big building, doesn't have any like decals or, vents or anything on the roof. And I may go back and add those, but I don't think it really needs them as much. Because there's a lot more variation in like the shape and heights and stuff of that building. But for this, it just was such a big empty space that I had to add stuff to the roof. And then I went back and also added a little bit of like discoloration to the peachy color, just to make it look like the roof was kind of wearing or, had like spots on it from rain or whatever. Suspend your disbelief a little bit on that. Let's see, what is new with me? Not a whole lot, to be honest. I am working close to full time right now because we're in Q4, and in the sales world, especially the e-commerce world, that's the bread and butter of the year, which is good that we're making good money, but at the same time, it definitely takes its toll. But I'm doing a pretty good job of keeping up with the schedule. I know I've missed a video here and there, and that's to be expected. But I've definitely uploaded more content in the last like 5-6 weeks than I have in probably like the year prior to that. So I'm doing the deal, as they say. And I hope you guys can continue to stay engaged in this project. And of course, there will be something coming out to replace this once we're done with it, which, if all goes to plan, will be really rather soon. And that it's going to be bittersweet when that day comes, but whatever's clever. I do have family coming in for Christmas, hopefully. They live in California, which, as many of you are maybe aware, it's actually a pretty shut down state right now. There's all kinds of drama over there at the moment. Not to laugh or anything, it's definitely a serious matter, but it doesn't, I kind of chuckle because it doesn't surprise me at all. That state has been kind of just all over the place for the last probably decade or so, and I don't know what the solution is for that. The population's out of control, the homelessness issue, the cost of living, all that stuff is just so problematic over there. But it is what it is. But COVID permitting and all of that, hopefully they're not fully locked down to where they can't actually travel over here. But it'll be nice to do Christmas at the new house and everything, which we are basically moved into fully now. I'm in a fully functional like home office now, which I didn't have until very recently. I was surrounded by boxes and stuff as we were moving in, but most of that is gone now, and we have a couple of light fixtures to update and a fan to install tomorrow, ceiling fan, and then some touch-up paint inside. And that's basically it until the spring, where we're going to do some landscaping and those kinds of things. But for now, the house is in pretty good shape, I guess you could say. But yeah, I mean, do you guys have any plans in this modified world that we live in? I know Thanksgiving ended up being kind of weird for most people, and Christmas is even more like get-together oriented. So, I'm wondering if you guys have any major plans, or if you've modified your plans for the sake of COVID and what have you. Yeah, let me know. I definitely would like to engage in discussions in the comments like, we used to back in the day. Obviously, I haven't been all that responsive until recently, so I know a lot of you have kind of like gotten this sort of like, well, why bother kind of attitude about it. But I am doing my best to respond to everyone who comments on my stuff, especially the newer stuff. So I'm doing my best to make this a professional channel while still maintaining like the kind of fun unpolishedness that I've always had, because it always kind of bugs me when YouTubers like start to add all these like funky like editing effects and whatever, and I understand like it's part of growth and whatever, but it seems like some people overdo it, and I feel like that's unnecessary. That's just my opinion. Like, obviously, I know a lot of work goes into editing and whatever, and sometimes I do more editing than others, but I've obviously always been kind of more of a raw, unscripted kind of channel. Oh, speaking of, I got a comment recently that I have kind of a monotone, I guess, voiceover voice, and that's something I've gotten like since day one. I even had somebody once tell me that I have the personality of an armpit. But I don't feel like I should be changing the way I speak just because a few people find it boring. I'm sorry if you're one of those people who feel like I should be more animated and whatever. That's just not going to happen, just being real with you, because I just... like, it feels awkward and uncomfortable for me to do that, and I think it feels inauthentic as well. Going back to the channels that start to over edit and those kinds of things, I also notice that some people start to act real extra. They get real like, oh, look at me, I can't even pretend to come up with an example, but I think that it's important for YouTubers as the channels grow and stuff that they stay who they are. Obviously, you guys right now, my 1,700 plus subscribers that I have, are the OGs. I mean, if this channel grows the way that I'd like it to, you guys are going to be able to say I was there before 2,000 subs. And, who knows? I'll be maybe sitting at 2 million or something someday. That would be awesome. Fingers crossed. And, you'll still be able to comment and be like, yeah, I was here before like anyone even knew about this channel, right? So that's why I want to stay as authentic as I can. And that includes my sarcastic sounding monotone voice. Oh, and I know that there's an echo on some of my audio. I'm in a much larger room than I normally record in. My home office is quite a bit larger than it was before, and I have very high vaulted ceilings in my house, so I've ordered some sound diffusers, and I'm going to be getting those set up when they arrive in the next couple of days. So hopefully some of that audio echo will be alleviated with those. I know that my audio isn't terrible, but I've never really been known for like pristine studio quality audio. I have a decent mic, but it's a $50 microphone, not a $500 microphone or whatever. I don't have a professional setup necessarily, although I am adding and tweaking and getting better as I go along with that stuff too. So eventually I may end up upgrading the mic and the system altogether. But for now, I think some sound diffusers and paying more attention to directing my voice right at the mic and those kinds of things will really, really help out. I hope that it is good enough for you for now because, that's how it's going to stay for now. It hasn't seemed to bother people recently, although I did get some comments, a couple of months ago about it, and I have been actively trying to improve when it comes to that. So, thank you all for understanding. I know that in my Tuesday tea video the other day, I may have seemed a little bit kind of down. I watched it back and it seemed a little melancholy to me. It wasn't meant that way. It really was just a quick update video, although I do think they need to be slightly longer in the future. I'm going to try to shoot for at least 5 minutes on those because I did leave out some details of things that are going on with my life and with the channel and whatever. I mean, nothing major, but I just, I didn't really even count the number of videos that we did in November and, anything like that. But if you want to watch that video, it's still obviously up and ready to be viewed. It's a quick 3.5 minute sort of blurb about how things went in November, what to expect in December, and that kind of thing. So real quick watch. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is I do have Sims videos coming out, and obviously that's an addition to the channel recently, but you have to remember that I started out as a Sims YouTuber. Like the very first video that I ever uploaded was a Sims 3 speed build, and it's kind of grown from there, but I chose Roller Coaster Tycoon because I felt like it was a game that I would be able to enjoy for the longer term, although lately I've been definitely enjoying playing The Sims, even with all its glitches and whatever. The Sims 4 is a pretty fun game to play, and I definitely like to build and design and what have you. I know that content's not for everyone. I know that the majority of you are not here for that, and that's okay. But please don't unsubscribe just because you see a couple of Sims videos every now and then. Like Roller Coaster Tycoon videos are going to be coming in every week. Like that's in the schedule before anything else. And, if I have to miss a video or whatever, it's going to be a Sims video. It's not going to be a Roller Coaster Tycoon video, at least for now. Because I know the majority of you out there watching are here for Roller Coaster Tycoon and don't even watch the Sims videos. But, speaking of, I know I got a couple of comments about the length of the Let's Play episode, the first Sims 4 Let's Play. Yes, it was absolutely too long, I agree. I was having a hard time figuring out what to edit out and what not to edit out and whatever. But after I went back and rewatched it, I decided that there was a good 15 to 20 minutes of content that I could have easily cut. So in future episodes, my goal is going to be under 45 minutes, which I know that sounds long from a Roller Coaster Tycoon's perspective, but for a Sims Let's Play, you're playing in real time, and so if you don't get 30 to 40 minutes of playtime in, nothing's going to happen in the game, and that's going to be a really boring Let's Play to watch. So I'm going to be working on finding the right balance of that, and whatever. For those of you who do watch that content, I can only get better, obviously, so that's the goal. And same thing with the Roller Coaster Tycoon content. You can watch episodes even earlier in this series and see how much things have improved. Someone recently asked about my intro. I used to have an intro on all my videos. I don't anymore. I think that it's not really necessary. I know a lot of gaming channels do and some don't and whatever. I just felt like since I'm trying to vary my content a little bit and I'm exploring different ways to present content, that I wanted to focus in more on just the actual content itself and not so much the bells and whistles and editing and all of that extra stuff that people like to add in. I know that works for some people, and I really truly appreciate that. And I can see videos that are nicely edited and appreciate them for the work that went into them. But I think for this kind of format, especially with my intention of posting several videos a week, it just makes more sense to be a little bit more focused on the content and a little less focused on the flashy extra bits. But yeah, I think that that's going to be okay. That anyone who prefers those kinds of things will get used to not having them on my channel. And I think the majority of people don't really care either way. And I'm surprisingly running out of things to talk about, which is, I guess, rare for me. You can't get me to shut up, but it's been a while since I've had this long of an episode to talk over. So yeah, please forgive me for all the ums and ahs and the awkwardness, because I'm kind of at a point where I don't know what else to say. I won't move into music. I think that music causes more awkwardness than anything. Of all the comments that I've ever gotten that were negative oriented, it had to do with music. Although in the same episode, I would get positive comments about that same music. So it's obviously a very opinion driven thing. And obviously preferences change from person to person. This pool that we're working on, I don't really like the way this area turned out. It definitely looks decent. And maybe once I get the, the tables and umbrellas and whatever put in, it'll look okay. But for now, it kind of just looks very bland and boring. And the pool water itself is very low in the pool. Like, that would be easily like a 5-foot drop to get into the pool, which is silly. Like, obviously they need to fill the pool up more, but I also didn't want it to be flush with the ground either, because I think that looks a little bit silly. So we may have to suspend our disbelief on that. And I'm going to be adding in a few things to make it look a little bit better. Like, you'll notice I don't have the full tile path, like normal concrete tarmac path in this workbench. And so I'm going to be going back to add that in, because there are a couple of areas where it's definitely needed, where I was trying to like mask it with the gray rock terrain paint, and it's a little bit too obvious for my taste now. I think a few years ago I would have just been like, yeah, just try to ignore it. But now I'm a little bit too much of a perfectionist for that. I'm also planning to add cars to the parking lot and, different landscaping and things to make the area seem more complete as we finish out the map in the coming weeks or whatever. But overall, I think once I get all the detailing in, it'll look pretty good. I think this area is going to be, while not really all that accessible, the kind of environmental element that it adds will really create an atmosphere for the park. Also, I realized that these 3 stalls, the drink stalls that are meant to be the bar, don't actually have guest accessible pathing, and I'm going to fix that. A lot of those things are going to be done off camera when I kind of tinker and polish and mess with the detailing on stuff. I'm also going to be going through and naming everything. I think I have a park name now, although I'm not going to quite announce it yet. It does kind of come up in this episode a little bit. There's sort of a clue as to what the park name will be. If you can find it and comment down below and you get it right, I'll give you a gold star for the day. But yeah, because obviously it can't just be called Mega Park. Mega Park is more of like a term of like what it is, It's like calling it a water park or calling it a theme park or whatever, a mega park. And then it would have a name, like, a water park wouldn't be called Water Park. It would be called Soak City or Hurricane Harbor or something, right? So Mega Park is the type of park that it is, and it needs a name, and it's probably going to have Mega Park in the name, like something Mega Park, right? And so we'll see how that goes. I think I've got that figured out now. If you have any ideas or suggestions for the park name, though, feel free to comment them down below. And if yours is better than mine, I'll definitely use yours, because I've been kind of toying with that for a while. Also, like every episode in the last couple of episodes, I've been like, I'm going to talk about ride names. I'm going to talk about ride names. I just haven't had a chance to go through all of the comments from all the previous videos and compile a list of what's what. If I don't ever actually do it in an episode like this, in a voiceover, I will for sure obviously credit everyone in the ride name and in the showcase episode, whatever that ends up being. So don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you if you've submitted a ride name idea. Some of the ride name suggestions that I've gotten have been really, really good, so I do plan to use them, and that might be yours. So keep suggesting names if you think of stuff. I will eventually let you all know what still needs a name, which is probably a lot of things still. But for the time being, if you see something that you have a good name for or whatever, feel free to comment that to me. I'm definitely going to be tracking that very, very soon. But it looks like we're at the end of the video now. So I want to thank you all for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you like what you see, a thumbs down if you don't. Subscribe if you haven't already. And with that said, you all have a great morning, afternoon, evening, night, etc., wherever you are in the world. And I will see you all next time.